"Tell me his name," ordered the Greek mafia boss as he saw her hide the wound with her hands. The smell of stale coffee and frying onions is the first thing that hits me every morning, and the last thing I scrub off my skin every night. I have worked at the Pegasus, Taki's waterfront diner, for 2 years, 3 months and 6 days. I count the days because it's a timeline. It marks how long I've been safe, or safe enough. Asteros, New York, a city of bridges and water, rust and new money, all piled on top of each other. The Pegasus is old money, which is to say, no money at all. It's a relic from when Greek immigrants first claimed this strip of the harbor, and it overlooks the gray, choppy water that separates us from the glittering skyline of downtown. My life is lived in these few blocks. My roach-infested apartment on the 3rd floor of a crumbling brick walk-up, the corner bodega for milk and bread, and this diner. 16 hours on my feet. If Taki needs me, today, I need the 16 hours. The tips are my only way out. Another few hundred, and I can buy a bus ticket west, somewhere with mountains. Maybe somewhere no one knows my name. "You're limping again, Nat." I flinch, my hand tightening on the coffee pot. Maria, the only other full-time waitress, is giving me that look, the one I hate, pity. "I'm fine. Maria twisted my ankle taking the trash out." I force a small, tight smile that I know looks more like a grimace. She doesn't believe me. Her eyes drift to my side, where my ribs are screaming. I'd bumped into the edge of the counter an hour ago, and the pain was so sharp, so electric, that my vision went white for a second. I know what the skin looks like under my cheap polyester uniform. A swirling galaxy of purple and black, tender to the touch, a fresh stamp from last night's mistake. "You should see a doctor for that," she presses, her voice low. "That cough you've had, it's a cold. I'm fine." I move past her, the heat from the pot warming my arm. "Booth 4 needs a check, and..." She sighs, but she lets it go. That's why I can stand Maria. She knows when to back off. Everyone at the Pegasus knows I'm not a talker. Natalie Vassos, the quiet girl, the one who never makes eye contact, who never stays for a drink after work, who never, ever, talks about her past. I am a ghost in a blue apron, and that's exactly how I need it to be. I keep my head down, my eyes on the cracked linoleum, on the orders clipped to the spinning wheel, on the gray water outside. I don't look at the customers. Not really. I see hands, mouths, empty cups. It's safer that way. But I feel them. I feel the shift in the air before the bell over the door even jingles. It happens around 2 in the afternoon. The lunchtime rush is dead, the diner settling into that quiet, humid lull before the dinner prep. The bell rings, and the whole place goes silent. Not just quiet, silent. Taki stops wiping the counter, the cook in the back. I even hear the sizzle of the grill quiet down as he pauses. I make the mistake of looking up. 3 men. They are dressed in suits that cost more than my apartment building. Not the flashy Wall Street kind, but the heavy, dark wool kind that speaks of old power and unseen influence. They move as one, their presence sucking the air out of the room. And then there's the man in the middle. He's not the biggest, though he's tall, with shoulders that fill the doorway. It's the stillness. He walks in, and the world arranges itself around him. His hair is black, thick, with a touch of gray at the temples that only makes him look more severe. His face is all sharp angles, a strong jaw, a nose that looks like it's been broken and set badly, and eyes so dark they look like they're punched into his skull. This is Alekouris. I don't need anyone to tell me his name. Every Greek in Asteros knows him. He owns things. The shipping terminals, the construction unions, the politicians, and, according to the whispers I try to ignore, the entire criminal underworld of this city. He doesn't look around. He just walks to the back booth, the one with the best view of the door and the street, and sits. His 2 men, one older, wiry, with a scarred face, the other younger, built like a refrigerator, take the seats opposite him, facing the room. The booth is in my section. My heart doesn't just pound, it seizes. It's a cold fist closing around my ribs. "Nat?" Taki hisses from behind the counter, his face pale. "Go! Take their order!" I nod, my throat tight. I grab my notepad, checking my apron pocket for a pen. My hands are shaking. I wipe them on the apron, but it doesn't help. I walk toward them, my steps feeling heavy, like I'm wading through wet cement. The limp I've been hiding all day is suddenly more pronounced. "Good afternoon. Can I get you something to start?" My voice is a reedy whisper. I keep my eyes on the notepad. Silence. I can feel him watching me. It's not a stare. It's an assessment, like he's weighing me, measuring me, cataloging my weaknesses. "Coffee. Black," he says. His voice is deep, gravelly, with an accent that's pure Asteros Greek, rough and commanding. "The same," the older, scarred man says. The younger one just grunts, not looking at me. Right away, I turn and walk back, my skin crawling. I feel his gaze on my back, a physical weight. I pour the coffee, my hands trembling so badly I almost miss the cup. "Breathe, girl," I whisper to myself. "You're nobody. You're invisible." But as I walk back, I notice something. He's not talking to his men. He's watching the room. He sees Taki nervously polishing the same glass over and over. He sees the two longshoremen in booth 2 suddenly in a hurry to pay their bill. And he sees me. He notices the way I flinch when a truck backfires on the street outside, my shoulder jerking up to protect my head. He notices the way I give the longshoremen a wide berth, my eyes darting to their hands, then away. He sees too much. I set the first cup down in front of the scarred man. I move to set the second one down for the younger, broader man. My ribs ache. My ankle throbs. A customer in the next booth laughs, a loud, barking sound. I jump, a full-body recoil, a gasp lodging in my throat. My hand jerks. The heavy ceramic mug tips, and hot black coffee splashes across the table, right onto the sleeve of the younger man's expensive suit. He roars, jumping up. "Idiot!" His hand is raised, not to strike, but in anger, and it's enough. I drop the pot. It shatters on the floor. I squeeze my eyes shut, my arms coming up to cover my face, my whole body bracing for the inevitable. The backhand, the fist, the burning pain. "Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was an accident. Please." The words tumble out of me, desperate, pathetic. Nothing happens. The diner is so quiet I can hear the hum of the neon sign outside. Slowly, I lower my arms. The young ox man is standing, his sleeve dripping, his face a mask of fury. The scarred man hasn't moved, but his hand is resting inside his jacket. Alec Chorus is just watching me. There's no anger in his expression, no annoyance, just a cold, calculating curiosity. He's watching me like a scientist watching an ant in a jar. He saw my reaction. He saw the terror, the way I prepared for a blow that hadn't even been threatened. "Sit down, Dmitri," Alex says, his voice quiet but carrying absolute authority. Dmitri shoots me one last look of disgust but sits, wiping at his sleeve with a napkin. "Clean it up," Alex says. Not to me, to Taki, who is already rushing over with a mop and towels. I'm still frozen, my heart trying to beat its way out of my bruised chest. "Are you all right?" Alec Chorus asks. I look at him. Really look at him. For the first time. His eyes are not just dark. They are intelligent, and they are holding mine. I can't speak. I just nod, the lie thick in my throat. "Go," he says, dismissing me with a slight tip of his head. "Take a minute." I practically run to the back, pushing through the swinging doors into the kitchen. I lean against the stainless steel counter, gasping for air. My whole body is shaking, a violent, uncontrollable tremor. "He saw," I whisper to the empty room. "He saw me." The rest of the shift is a blur. I don't go back to his table. Techie, bless him, takes it over himself. I just hide in the kitchen, washing dishes, my hands raw from the hot water and harsh soap, until my shift ends at 10. I clock out, pulling my thin jacket on. The night air is cold, smelling of salt and diesel from the port. I pull my hoodie up and start the half-mile walk home. My limp more pronounced now, my entire body one solid ache. I keep to the shadows, my head on a swivel. Every car that slows down, every man walking alone sends a spike of adrenaline through me. This is my life, a constant state of low-grade panic. I'm halfway home when I see it. A black sedan, parked in the shadows across from my block. It's the same one from the diner. It's too clean, too expensive for this neighborhood. My blood turns to ice. They followed me. I don't go home. I duck into the 24-hour pharmacy on the corner, my heart hammering. I walk the aisles, pretending to look at shampoo, my mind racing. Why would they follow me? He's a mafia boss. I'm a waitress. I spilled coffee. It doesn't make sense. Unless he knows? No, he can't. My ribs throb, reminding me. I grab a box of bandages, the heavy-duty waterproof kind. I grab a bottle of antiseptic and a small bottle of the cheapest painkillers they have. I pay in cash, my hands shaking so badly I drop the change. I look out the front window. The sedan is still there, unmoving. I go to the back of the store, past the pharmacy counter, and push open the emergency exit. It opens into a dark, garbage-filled alley. I run. I don't stop running until I'm at my building, taking the fire escape up to my third-floor window, the one with the broken lock. I slip inside, my lungs burning, and slide the flimsy wooden chair under the knob of my front door. It won't stop anyone, but it might give me a second's warning. The next morning, my hand is bleeding. I was careless. My nerves shot. I was trying to cut a piece of bread for breakfast with my pocket knife, the only sharp knife I owned. My hand was still shaking from last night. The blade slipped, and I laid my left palm open, a deep, jagged cut that bled sluggishly. I wrapped it as tightly as I could with the new bandages, but it was bad. I needed stitches. Stitches required a hospital. Hospitals required questions. So I went to work. I try to hide it. I keep my left hand in my apron pocket. I carry trays one-handed. It's clumsy, it's awkward, and it hurts. The throbbing in my palm is a dull echo of the deeper ache in my ribs. I made it until 11. Then he came back. This time he was alone. He sat in the same booth. The diner was empty, save for two old men playing backgammon near the front. I walked over, my stomach in knots. Coffee? He didn't answer. He just stared at my apron, at the pocket where I was hiding my hand. Take your hand out of your pocket, Natalie. He knew my name. I'd heard Taki hiss it yesterday, but hearing it from him, in that low, gravelly voice, felt different. It felt like ownership. My heart hammered. Slowly, I pulled my hand out. The bandage was a mess. The white gauze was soaked through with bright, fresh red. It was already dripping onto the floor. His eyes lifted from my hand to my face. They were unreadable, cold. He looked at my eyes, my mouth, the fading yellow bruise on my jaw I thought my makeup had covered. Tell me his name. It wasn't a question. It was an order. A quiet, simple command that held the weight of the world. My blood ran cold. He thought. He assumed. I slipped, I stammered. The same lie as yesterday. It sounded even weaker now. I was cutting bread. This morning, it was an accident. He watched me, and he didn't blink. He knew I was lying. He knew the tremor in my voice wasn't just from pain. He knew the look in my eyes. He had seen it before. But he didn't call me a liar. He just held my gaze for a long, terrible moment. Bring me a coffee, and he said, finally, black. I nodded, speechless, and fled to the counter. As I poured his coffee, my good hand shaking, I saw him nod to someone outside the window, the scarred man. Lucas was standing by the black sedan. He gave a slight nod back and got in the car. Alec Corus was having me watched, and he had just given an order. Find out. I refused to think about it. I brought him his coffee, set it down, and retreated to the far side of the diner, polishing silverware that was already clean. I worked until closing, my whole body humming with a fear so deep it tasted like metal. He sat there for 3 hours. He didn't drink the coffee, he just sat, watching the harbor, a silent, brooding statue of quiet menace. When he left, he dropped a $100 bill on the table for 1 coffee. I locked up at 10, my hand throbbing so badly I felt nauseous. The walk home was a nightmare. Every shadow held a threat, but it wasn't Alec Chorus I was afraid of. It was the man he was asking about. I got to my apartment, barricaded the door, and checked the fire escape window. I sat on my lumpy mattress, the room dark, and let the memories come. His name was Sasha Morinov. He wasn't my boyfriend. He was my keeper. For a year, I had been his property. I was young, stupid, fresh off the bus from a town that had nothing for me. He found me, working in a bar in the Bronx. He was beautiful, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that promised the world. He bought me dresses. He paid for a nice apartment. He told me he loved me. And he owned me. He was a mid-level enforcer for the Solikov Bratva, the Russian cartel. They ran guns, they ran drugs, and they ran women. I found out by accident a locked room in our apartment. I picked the lock. Inside, I found passports. Dozens of them, all women. Eastern European, young, terrified-looking girls. I found stacks of cash and a ledger. That was when the smile vanished. That was when I met the real Sasha. When I tried to leave, he nearly killed me. He broke 2 of my ribs and my jaw and left me for dead in that pristine, expensive apartment. I waited until he left for a meeting. I grabbed what cash I could, 1 change of clothes, and I ran. I ran to Asteros, to the Greek side of town, as far from the Bratva's Bronx territory as I could get. I changed my hair, my name, my entire life. I became Natalie Vassos, the quiet waitress, the ghost. For 2 years, it had worked. Until now. Alec Chorus, with his questions and his watchful eyes, had stirred the water, and he had no idea what he was stirring up. A sound. My head snapped up. A scrape. At the fire escape window. My heart stopped. Not slowed, stopped. I wasn't imagining it. The sound of old metal groaning. Then a soft thud, like a boot landing on the wooden floor of my kitchen. I didn't scream. I didn't breathe. My body went cold, my training taking over. Sasha had taught me how to be quiet, how to be invisible. It was the only good thing he ever gave me. I slid off the bed. My emergency cash, $340, was under a loose floorboard near the wall. I grabbed it, my fingers numb. My phone was on the nightstand, charging. Too far. Stupid. I slipped into the tiny bathroom. The door was flimsy, the lock a joke. I locked it anyway. I wedged the fuzzy bath mat against the crack under the door. I climbed into the old stained bathtub and pulled the thin, mildewed plastic shower curtain closed. I sat on the cold porcelain, my knees drawn to my chest, my cut hand pressed against my mouth to stifle the sound of my own breathing. I heard them, 2 of them. Their voices were low, guttural, Russian. They tore my small room apart, the sound of my mattress being flipped, my drawers being ripped out and thrown, the crash of the cheap lamp hitting the floor. Ona Nezdes? She's not here. Nady Yayo, find her. My stomach clenched. They were looking for me. Sasha had found me. I stayed there, unmoving for what felt like a lifetime. The smell of mold and soap scum filled my lungs. I heard them move through the apartment, their heavy boots loud on the cheap floor. One of them jiggled the bathroom doorknob. I squeezed my eyes shut, pressing my bleeding palm harder against my mouth. He kicked the door. The flimsy wood splintered, but the lock held. He kicked it again. I could see the doorframe shuddering. Ostaveto, the other one said. Leave it. Ona niczego nie znает. She knows nothing. A pause. Then the first man grunted in agreement. I heard them walk back through the apartment. The front door opened, then slammed shut, the sound echoing in the ruined space. I didn't move. I waited. I counted to 500, twice. The silence of the apartment was almost as terrifying as the noise had been. Finally, shaking so hard my teeth ached, I pushed the shower curtain back and climbed out of the tub. I waited another 10 minutes before I dared to unlock the bathroom door. My apartment was destroyed. They had been thorough. My few clothes were thrown everywhere. My food was dumped out of the fridge. They had slashed my mattress open. They weren't looking for money. They were looking for me. I sank onto the ruined mattress, the springs digging into my back. I should cry. I should scream. But I was just cold, numb. I picked up my phone. I dialed 911. It took them 2 hours to show up. 2 officers, a man and a woman, both looking exhausted and bored. "Anything valuable taken, miss?" the male officer asked, his pen hovering over his notepad. "No, I don't have anything valuable." "Looks like junkies," the woman said, nudging a broken picture frame with her boot. "Looking for pills or cash?" "They spoke Russian," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The male officer sighed. "You speak Russian?" "No, but I recognized it." "Right. Look, miss, there's not much we can do. They're long gone. Get a better lock for your window, maybe a bar." They took my statement, a useless piece of paper, and left. I was alone again. The police wouldn't protect me. No one would. I sat there for another hour, the wreckage of my life around me, trying to figure out where to go. I had $300. It wasn't enough for a bus ticket, not if I needed to eat. I had nowhere to go. Sasha would be watching the bus station, the train station. He would find me. A knock. My head snapped toward the door. It wasn't a police knock. It was heavy, solid, confident. I froze. "Natalie?" His voice, Alec chorus. My blood turned to water. How? How did he know my name? How did he know where I lived? How did he know what happened? I didn't move. I didn't breathe. "I know you're in there," he called, his voice muffled by the door. "The police scanner reported a break-in at this address. Open the door. I'm not going to hurt you." Slowly, my legs feeling like they were filled with sand, I got up. I walked to the door. I looked through the peephole. It was him, alone. His dark suit looked out of place in my filthy hallway. He filled the entire peephole, a mountain of quiet menace. I pulled the chair away and slowly, my hands shaking, undid the chain. I opened the door just a crack. His dark eyes immediately swept over me, taking in my pale face, my terrified eyes. Then they moved past me, to the destroyed apartment. His face, which I had thought was hard before, turned to granite. A muscle in his jaw clenched, but his expression didn't change. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. He knew. He held up a set of keys. They dangled from his index finger, glinting in the dim hallway light. "You're not staying here tonight." My first instinct was to slam the door. This was him. This was his fault, his questions, his men, his presence. He had brought this down on me. I can't," I stammered, my voice cracking. "I don't know you." "You know I'm not the one who did this," he said, his voice low and certain, "and you know they'll be back." He was right. God, he was right. I knew they would be back. Sasha would not be satisfied until I was found. "I don't take things from people," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. My pride was the only thing I had left. It was a flimsy, stupid shield, but it was mine. "This isn't a gift," he said, and I could hear the impatience sharpening his voice. "It's a solution. The apartment is empty. It's on the other side of the river. It's safe. It's in my territory. No one will find you there." He pushed the keys through the crack in the door. I didn't take them. They fell, clattering onto the worn linoleum floor between us. "I can't," I whispered again, tears of frustration and terror finally burning in my eyes. "Please, just go." He looked at me for a long, assessing moment. He saw the ruined room behind me. He saw the blood-soaked bandage on my hand. He saw the absolute, bone-deep terror in my eyes and the stupid, stubborn pride warring with it. He let out a slow breath, a sign of frustration. "One night," he said, his voice final. "You have one night to think about it. My man, Lucas, is in the car across the street, the black sedan. If you change your mind, Go to him. He'll take you to the apartment." My breath hitched. The sedan. It hadn't been Sasha. It had been them. They had been watching me. They had been watching when Sasha's men broke in. They had done nothing. If you don't change your mind." He shrugged, a small, eloquent motion that said my fate was my own, and he was indifferent to it. "Don't be stupid, Natalie." He turned and walked away. His footsteps were heavy and sure on the worn-out stairs, echoing in the silence. I stood there, the door still open a crack, the cold hallway air on my face. I stared down at the keys, a small, shiny promise of safety, a safety that came with a price I was terrified to even guess at. I had one night. The first thing I registered was the silence. I opened my eyes, and the world was wrong. Not the gray, damp-stained plaster of my ceiling, but a smooth, perfect white. My cheek was not on my lumpy, thin pillow, but on something impossibly soft. I was in a bed, a real one, wide and firm, covered in sheets so clean they felt slick. I smelled nothing. No stale onions, no harbor diesel, no mold. The air was clean and dry. My heart hammered against my ribs, a dull, aching pain. I sat up too fast, and the room tilted. I was wearing a black t-shirt, a man's, heavy and soft, that fell to my knees. It smelled faintly of expensive soap and him, Alec Chorus. My memory was a fog, his voice in the hall, the keys clattering on my floor, the overwhelming, crushing weight of my aloneness. I remembered sliding down my own splintered door, the world going gray at the edges, and then darkness. I must have passed out. I looked down at my left hand. The dirty, blood-soaked wad of gauze was gone. In its place were neat, tight white bandages, taped with clinical precision. The throbbing was gone, replaced by a clean, sharp sting. Someone had cleaned it, stitched it. I threw the heavy comforter off. My legs were shaky. I stood, my feet sinking into a plush dark gray carpet. The room was huge, painted in shades of gray and black, with a wall of windows overlooking the city. It was a high-rise, a fortress of glass and steel, on the other side of the river. I walked out of the bedroom. The apartment was vast, minimalist and cold. The furniture was all sharp angles and dark leather, looking like it had never been used, a showroom, a holding cell. I walked to the front door. It was not a door. It was a slab of reinforced steel with 3 heavy deadbolts. He had not given me a safe place. He had put me in a vault. I was in the kitchen, a sterile expanse of white marble and stainless steel. When I heard the lock, it was not a jiggle. It was a clean, precise click, the sound of a key sliding home. Alec Chorus walked in. He was wearing another dark suit, this one with a thin black tie. He looked like he owned the world, and he probably did. His dark eyes swept the room, found me, and held. "You're awake," he stated. It was not a question. "Where am I?" My voice was a dry rasp. "Safe." He walked past me, to the wall of windows, and looked down at the city. "My man found you on the floor of your apartment. You passed out, you hit your head." My hand instinctively went to the back of my skull. I felt a small, tender lump. "The cut on your hand was infected, deep. I had a doctor come while you were unconscious. He stitched it." My blood ran cold. A doctor. Here. While I was asleep, my body, my wounds, all handled, catalogued, and repaired without my permission. I felt a wave of violation, but it was warring with the undeniable fact that the throbbing ache in my hand was gone. "Thank you," I whispered, and I hated the word. I hated the gratitude. "I don't want thanks," he said, turning. His face was granite. "I want a name." My heart jumped into my throat. "I told you. I fell. I was cutting bread." He walked toward me, his steps measured, silent on the marble floor. He stopped a few feet away. "The men in your apartment last night, the ones who tore it apart, the ones who spoke Russian, did you trip over them too?" My breath hitched. "Your man, Lucas. He was outside. He saw them. He let them." "He watched them," Alec corrected, his voice sharp, cold. He was under orders not to interfere unless they tried to take you. I needed to know who they were, what they were looking for. Now I do. They are Sokolov men." He took another step. I took one back, my bare feet cold on the floor. "The Sokolov Bratva," he said, his voice a low growl. "They don't send 2 enforcers to tear apart a waitress's apartment because she's late on rent. They sent them for you. Why?" "I don't know," I lied, my voice shaking. "Lies are boring, Natalie Mayen," he said, his impatience a tangible thing in the room. "And they waste my time. Who are you hiding from?" He was close now, looming over me. I could smell the faint, clean scent of his soap, the wool of his suit. "What is his name?" "I don't know anyone." My back hit the cold marble counter. I was trapped. "What about Sasha?" My world stopped. It did not slow down, it did not stutter, it simply ceased to exist. The air in my lungs turned to ice. I could not move, I could not breathe. The coffee cup I had just poured, my hand still wrapped around it, slipped from my fingers. It shattered on the floor, the dark liquid splashing across the white tile. I did not flinch, I just stared at him. He saw it, the way the blood drained from my face, the way my eyes widened, not in fear, but in a kind of soul-deep oblivion. He saw the name land on me like a physical blow. "Sasha," he repeated, his voice softer now, but with a terrible, cold certainty. "Sasha Morinov." My legs gave out. I didn't fall, but I sagged against the counter, my whole body shaking, a violent, uncontrollable tremor. He did not help me. He did not move to comfort me. He just watched, his dark eyes cataloging my reaction. "So," he said, his voice flat, "we finally have a name." Sasha. The name was a key, and it unlocked the room in my mind I kept boarded shut. The memories flooded in, hot and suffocating, and I was drowning. I was not his girlfriend. I was his property. I saw him, not as the monster he became, but as the angel he was at first. That blonde, careless hair, those eyes, the color of a summer sky, the smile that made me feel like I was the only woman in New York. He found me working a double at a terrible bar in the Bronx, my feet bleeding, my tips non-existent. He bought me dinner. He bought me a new coat, a real one, not the threadbare thing I had. He told me I was too good for that place. He moved me into his apartment, a high-rise palace of white marble and gold fixtures. He called me his Moya Dusha, my soul. For 6 months, I was a princess in a glass tower. I knew he was connected. He had business. He wore expensive suits and had meetings at all hours. I knew not to ask. The money was good, and I was safe. I told myself I was safe. The first time he hit me, I had asked him where he had been for 2 days. It was not a fist. It was a casual backhand, an open palm that struck me with such indifferent force that it split my lip and sent me sprawling onto the marble floor. I remember the cold of the stone on my cheek. He did not apologize. He knelt, his beautiful face serene, and touched my bleeding mouth. "Don't ask questions, Natalie," he said, his voice soft. "It's ugly." I stayed. I was a coward. I was trapped by the silk sheets and the skyline view. And the fear. I found the room by accident, his office. It was always locked. One day, he left his keys on the counter. I was just curious. I told myself I was just curious. I opened the door. It was not an office. It was a processing center. A steel table, a camera on a tripod, a medical chair, and a filing cabinet. I pulled open a drawer. Passports? Dozens of them, hundreds, all women, young women, girls from Ukraine, from Moldova, from Russia. Their faces were pale, their eyes hollow and terrified. I pulled open another drawer. Ledgers, names, next to dates, next to dollar amounts, prices. He was not just connected. He was not just a gangster. He was a trafficker. He sold people. He sold them like cattle. "Natalie?" I spun, a passport dropping from my numb fingers. He was standing in the doorway, a bouquet of lilies in his hand. He was not smiling. His blue eyes were flat, dead. "What are you doing, Dusha?" he asked, his voice a soft, deadly caress. "Who are these girls? Sasha?" I whispered, my voice shaking. "Who are they?" He dropped the flowers. He walked toward me, slowly. "You should not be in here." "You sell them," I whispered, the horror rising, choking me. "God, you sell them." "I sell product," he corrected, his voice still gentle. He reached for the passport on the floor. I kicked it away. That was when the angel vanished. He grabbed my hair, one-handed, and yanked my head back until my neck screamed. "You stupid, stupid girl," he hissed. He slammed my head against the wall. Stars exploded. He threw me to the floor. He kicked me once, twice, 3, 4 times in the ribs. I heard one of them crack, a wet, sickening pop. I screamed. He knelt, his hand clamping over my mouth, the other closing around my throat, cutting off my air. "You are nothing," he whispered, his beautiful face inches from mine, his eyes empty. "You are mine. You are just like them. You just get to sleep in my bed. Do you understand?" He left me there. He locked me in that room for 2 days, with the passports, with the pictures. When he finally let me out, he was smiling again. He brought me soup. He kissed my bruised, swollen face. He was so sorry. I waited a week. I smiled back. I let him touch me. My skin crawling so badly I wanted to claw it off. I pretended. The moment he left for a 3-day meeting in Brighton Beach, I took every cent from his wallet, a burner phone from his glove box, and I ran. I ran until my lungs burned and my feet bled. I ran to Asteros, to the Greek side of town, as far from his Bronx territory as I could get. I changed my name. I cut and dyed my hair. I became Natalie Vassos, the quiet waitress, the ghost. And now he had found me. "Natalie?" Alex's voice, sharp and hard, pulled me from the memory. I was on the floor, curled against the cabinets, hyperventilating. "Get up!" He was holding out his hand. I ignored it, using the cabinet handle to pull myself up, my legs shaking. "He found me," I whispered. The reality of physical weight. After 2 years, he found me. "He did not find you," Alex said, his voice flat. He tossed a thick manila envelope onto the counter. It landed with a heavy slap. "We did." I stared at it. "My men have been watching you since you spilled coffee on Dimitri. Not just you. The diner, this man Sasha, has been seen in the area for a week, watching, taking pictures." My numb fingers fumbled with the clasp. I pulled out a stack of 8x10 photographs, grainy, long lens shots. There was Sasha, sitting in a dark blue sedan across from the Pegasus. There was Sasha, standing on the corner of my street, smoking, watching me walk home. There was me, my head down, my limp obvious. "This is not a jilted lover, Natalie," Alex said, his voice a low growl. "The Solikov Bratva does not send a mid-level enforcer to stalk a waitress for fun. This is a message. They are making a move on my territory, on the port, using you as their opening shot." He took one of the pictures, a close-up of Sasha's face. He was not smiling. "You are no longer a waitress," Alex said, his voice cutting through my panic. "You are a loose end, and in my world, in his world, loose ends get erased." A different emotion, something cold and sharp, cut through the terror. Anger, a weak, desperate anger I had not felt in years. "And what are you?" I spat, my voice shaking. "My new protector, my new keeper." I threw my arm out, gesturing to the sterile, beautiful apartment. "Is this just a nicer cage?" I expected him to yell, to get angry, to strike me. Sasha would have. Alec did not. He just watched me, that same cold, assessing gaze. "Why?" I demanded, my voice rising, cracking. "Why do you care? Because he is Russian? Because it is a message? I am not one of your soldiers. I am not part of your world. Just let me go. I will run. I will disappear right now. You will never see me again." "And you think he will let you run?" Alex scoffed, a dark, humorless sound. "He will find you before you hit the city limits, and what he will do to you. He will make what he did to you before feel like a kiss." "So why do you care?" I screamed, slamming my good hand on the marble counter. The sting jolted up my arm. What do you want from me? In one step, he was in my space. He pinned me between the island and his body. He was so much bigger than me, a wall of muscle and dark wool, radiating heat. I had to crane my neck to look him in the eye. I was shaking from head to toe, but I did not back down. I was so tired of backing down. His dark eyes searched mine. He saw the terror. He saw the panic, but he also saw the tiny, flickering ember of fight. "Because," he said, his voice so low I almost did not hear it, "you do not walk away from blood like that alone." His words hung in the air. It was not the answer I expected. It was not about territory or the bratva or business. It was something else, a code, a law of his world that I did not understand. His hand came up, not fast, not slow. I flinched, my eyes squeezing shut, bracing for the blow. It never came. His fingers, warm and rough, touched my jaw. His thumb brushed over the fading yellow bruise. His touch was surprisingly gentle, but it was heavy, a touch of possession. My breath caught in my throat. My entire body went rigid. "He did this," Alec whispered. His gaze dropped to my mouth. It was not a question. I could not speak. I just nodded, a tiny, jerky motion. His eyes held mine. The air in the kitchen was suddenly too thick, too hot, electric. I could feel the heat radiating from his chest, his scent filling my lungs. He was not looking at me like Sasha did, like I was a thing to be broken. He was looking at me like he was starving. And I was the first meal he had seen in years. He leaned in. My heart was a trapped bird, beating itself to death against my ribs. I was terrified, but I was not moving. Part of me, the part that had been cold and dead for 2 years, was screaming. His lips were inches from mine. I could feel his breath, warm and clean. No, the word was a gasp, torn from my throat. I pushed against his chest. It was like pushing against a concrete wall, but he allowed me to move. He did not grab me. He did not force it. He let me duck under his arm, scrambling to the other side of the kitchen island. My body was humming, my lips tingling from a kiss that had not even happened. He straightened, his face an unreadable mask. He was not angry. He was not insulted. He just watched me. "I do not want to owe you," I said, my voice trembling, but firm. "I will not be owned, not by him, not by you, not again." A slow, almost imperceptible nod. He seemed to understand that. Maybe, in his own way, he even respected it. He reached into the inner pocket of his suit jacket. He did not pull out a gun. He pulled out a phone, a small, black, nondescript burner phone. He slid it across the island. It stopped right in front of me. "You are right," he said, his voice back to its cold, flat tone. "You are not in my world, but you are in his, and he is in mine." He tapped the phone. "This is for you. There is one number in it. Mine. You do not call the police. You do not call your friends from the diner. You do not call anyone but me. If you see him, if you think you see him, if a shadow on the street looks at you the wrong way, you call me. Do you understand?" I stared at the phone. It was another link, another chain. "Take it, Natalie," he ordered. My hand, the one with the clean, white bandages, reached out and closed around the small, cold piece of plastic. "Good," he said. He walked to the steel door. "Lucas will be outside in the hall. A car will be downstairs, on call for me. Do not leave this apartment. The refrigerator is stocked." He opened the heavy door. "Alec," I called out. I was surprised I had used his name. He paused, his back to me, a dark silhouette against the bright hallway. "What happens now?" I whispered. He did not turn around. "Now," he said, "I hunt him." He left. The door clicked shut with the heavy, final sound of a bank vault ceiling. I was alone. I spent the rest of the day pacing the beautiful cage. I found the stocked fridge, the fresh clothes in the closet, the painkillers in the marble bathroom. I took a shower, the hot water stinging my skin, and tried to scrub the last 2 years off me. Night fell. The city outside the windows turned into a glittering tapestry of lights. It was beautiful, but it felt distant, unreal. I tried to sleep in the massive, empty bed, but the silence was deafening. In my old apartment, I had the sounds of the street, sirens, ships, the couple next door arguing. Here, there was nothing. Just the whisper of the air conditioning. I must have drifted off, because the dream came. It is always the same dream. I am back in the Bronx apartment. The marble is cold under my feet. I'm trying to run, but my feet are heavy, stuck to the floor. The door to the office is open. He is standing there. Sasha, he is smiling, his blue eyes bright and loving. "Where are you going, Dusha?" he asks. He walks toward me. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. My throat is closed. He reaches for me, his hand gentle, and cups my jaw. Then his fingers tighten, his other hand closing around my throat. I cannot breathe. His grip is iron. The world is going dark, the edges closing in. His beautiful face is the last thing I see. You are mine, Natalie, forever. I woke up with a strangled, silent scream, sitting bolt upright in the bed. I was clawing at my own throat, gasping for air that would not come. My heart was pounding, a frantic drum against my healing ribs. The apartment was dark. I was alone. But I was not. I could feel him. I could feel Sasha in the room, in the shadows, his cold blue eyes watching me. "He is here," I whispered, the panic rising, hot and acidic, in my throat. "He is here. He found me." I knew he was not. I knew I was in a fortress. I knew the door was steel. But the terror was real. My body did not know the difference. I was crying, deep, racking sobs that I had held back for 2 years. The fear, the loneliness, the crushing, unending exhaustion. It all came pouring out of me in the dark. My eyes landed on the burner phone, charging on the nightstand. "You call me?" It was weak. It was giving in. It was admitting I needed him, admitting I was his to protect. I did not care. My hand, the good one, snatched the phone. I pressed the only button. It rang. Once, twice. "What?" His voice was rough, gravelly with sleep. It was 3 a.m. He... I could not speak. I was choking on my own sobs, my own panic. "Natalie?" His voice changed. Instantly, the sleep was gone. It was sharp, hard, and cold. "Are you hurt? Is someone in the apartment?" "No," I cried, the word tearing from my throat. "No, He was here, in my head, in the dream. I cannot breathe. Please." Silence. For a long, terrible second, I thought he was going to hang up, tell me I was pathetic, tell me not to waste his time. "I am on my way," he said, and the line went dead. I did not know how long I waited. It felt like an eternity. It must have been less than 20 minutes. I huddled on the floor by the door, my arms wrapped around my knees, rocking back and forth like a child, my tears soaking the t-shirt he had given me. I heard the key in the lock. The heavy door swung open. Alex stood there. His hair was messy, wild. He was wearing a pair of dark gray sweatpants and a black Henley. No shoes. He had just come. He saw me, a crumpled, weeping mess on his expensive floor. His face was a mask of stone. He did not say, "It was just a nightmare." He did not say, "You are fine." He did not ask what happened. He walked past me, his presence filling the dark apartment. He went to the windows, checking the locks. He went to the steel door, testing the deadbolts. He walked through every room, his movements economical and silent, a predator securing his den. I just watched him, my sobs quieting down to shaky, hiccuping breaths. He finished his patrol. He came back to the living room. He looked at me, still on the floor. "Go back to bed," he ordered. The words were not unkind. They were just a fact. "I cannot," I whispered, my voice raw. I will see him again. I cannot be alone." He looked at the long, black leather couch. He looked back at me. He let out a deep, frustrated sigh. He grabbed a throw blanket from the back of an armchair, kicked off the slip-on shoes he had pulled on, and lay down on the couch. It was too short for him. His feet hung off the end. He clasped his hands behind his head and stared at the dark ceiling. "I'm not leaving, Guy," he said. I stared at him. This man, this mafia boss, this killer, was staying on the couch because I had a nightmare. Slowly, my legs unsteady, I got up. I went back to the bedroom, but I did not close the door. I left it open, just a crack. I got into the impossibly big, cold bed. I could see him, a long, dark shape in the living room. He had not moved. He was just there, a guard, a sentinel. My body was still tense, my nerves screaming, but the panic, the icy, choking panic, was receding. The image of Sasha's cold blue eyes was fading, replaced by the solid, unmoving shadow on the couch. I lay there for a long time, watching the sliver of the living room I could see through the door. I watched the slow, steady rise and fall of his chest. He did not go to sleep. He was just watching, protecting. And for the first time in 2 years, 3 months and 8 days, I felt safe. My eyes grew heavy. The exhaustion finally won. And as I fell asleep, my last thought was not of Sasha. It was of the monster on the couch. I woke up to the smell of coffee, real coffee, dark and rich. My eyes snapped open. The bedroom was bright, the morning sun streaming through the wall of windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. For a split second, I forgot. I was just a woman waking up in a beautiful apartment. Then the memory of the night before crashed down on me, the dream, the panic, the phone call. Alec. I was scrambling out of the bed, my heart thudding. The heavy t-shirt I was wearing was rumpled, smelling of my own fear and his soap. The living room was empty. The couch was neat, the blanket folded. He was gone. A strange, hollow disappointment settled in my stomach. He had left. Of course he had left. He was a mafia boss, not a babysitter. He had stayed until the sun came up, until the monster in my head had retreated, and then he had gone. I padded barefoot into the kitchen. He was there. He was not on the couch. He was standing at the window, a white ceramic mug in his hand, staring down at the city. He was showered, shaved, and dressed, not in the sweatpants from last night, but in another one of his immaculate dark suits. The armor was back on. The guard who had sat in the dark with me was gone. The boss was back. He did not turn when I entered. He knew I was there. "There is food in the refrigerator, clothes in the closet. They should fit. I had them sent," he said, his voice flat, his attention still on the city below. "Thank you," I whispered. My voice was rough from crying. He said nothing. The silence in the apartment was heavy, awkward. I did not know the rules of this. What was I supposed to say? "Thank you for not letting me shatter into a million pieces last night." The silence was broken by the sound of the steel door. The heavy tumblers clicked, and the door opened. It was Lucas, the scarred consigliere. He walked in holding a tablet, his face set in its usual grim lines. He nodded once at Alec, completely ignoring my presence in the kitchen. I might as well have been a piece of furniture, a lamp, a pet. "Volkov wants the meeting," Lucas said, his voice a low rasp. He was speaking Greek, fast and hard. I froze, my hand halfway to the coffee pot. I did not move. I just listened. They thought I was just an American girl. They forgot my last name was Vassos. I grew up in Taki's diner. I might not be fluent, but I understood. I understood the curses, the orders, the numbers. And I understood the word for war. "He is testing us," Alex said, his back still to me. He spoke Greek back, his voice a low growl. Sending his dog Sasha to rattle a cage. "He's doing more than rattling," Lucas argued, his tone sharp. "He's poking the bear. Alec, this girl. She's not worth a war with the Bratva. They are animals. They will not fight clean. They will burn the city down to get at her, just to prove they can..." My blood ran cold. This girl, she's not worth a war. She is not the point, Alex said, and I could hear the steel in his voice. They moved in my territory. They touched someone under my protection. They put their hands on what is mine. What is mine? The words hit me like a slap. I was property. I had traded one cage for another. Sasha's white marble prison in the Bronx for Alex's gray glass vault in Asteros. She is a waitress, Alec, Lucas pressed, his voice rising. A nobody. Let them have her. Let her run. It is a bad investment. We lose nothing. Alec turned. Slowly. He was not looking at Lucas. He was looking at me. His dark eyes were cold, assessing, unreadable. He knew I had been listening. He knew I understood. Set the meeting, Alec ordered, his gaze unwavering from mine. The old dockyard. Tomorrow night I will speak to Volkov himself. He will not come alone, Lucas warned. My reputation will be my army, Alec said, his voice pure ice. They will listen. Lucas looked from Alec to me, his scarred face tight with disapproval. He knew he had lost. He let out a disgusted sigh, nodded once, and left, the steel door sealing us back in with a heavy, final thud. I was shaking, not with fear, with a white-hot, suffocating rage. What is mine? I whispered, the words trembling with fury. Is that what I am? A bad investment? A piece of property you are willing to go to war over? It is better than being a loose end, he replied, taking a sip of his coffee. He was calm. He was always so calm. You let me think I was safe here, I accused, my voice rising. You put me in this vault. But they can still get to me. You are just using me. You are using me as bait to start a fight with the Russians. You are safer here than you were in your apartment, he said, his voice flat. That is a fact. What happens outside these walls is my business. It is my life, I screamed, the word tearing out of my chest. It is my life that Sasha wants, and you are just discussing it, like a stock price. You are alive, he said, his voice hardening. Last night you were in pieces. Today you are angry. Angry is better, angry is smart. Stay angry, but stay in this apartment. He set his mug down and walked toward the door. Where are you going? I demanded. My business on, he said, and left. The door sealed. I was alone again. I paced the apartment like a caged animal. I was furious. At him, at Lucas, at Sasha, and at myself. I had called him. I had cried for him. I had shown him the soft, terrified part of myself, and he had turned around and called me his. I needed my things. I needed a piece of my old life, the one I had built, however fragile. I found my purse on a chair in the bedroom. His men must have grabbed it from my ruined apartment. It was my old, cracked, brown leather bag, my armor. I dumped its contents onto the bed. A few crumpled dollar bills, a pack of gum, a cheap lipstick, my keys to the apartment I could never go back to, and something else. Something that did not belong. A small, black plastic square, no bigger than a quarter. It had been taped to the inside lining, hidden in the seam. I stared at it. It was a tracker. A tracker. My blood turned to ice. My rage vanished, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. It had not been there when I bought the purse at a thrift shop 2 years ago. How long? How long had it been there? Sasha had not just found me. He had not just seen me at the diner. He had been led to me. Someone had put this on me. Someone I trusted. My mind raced. Takei? No. He was too scared of everyone. A customer? Unlikely. Maria. Maria, with her concerned eyes. Maria, who always asked if I was okay. Maria, who had hugged me last week when I came in soaked from the rain. A hug. Long enough to slip something into my bag. The realization was a physical blow. I sank onto the bed, the small, treacherous piece of plastic in my hand. My whole life in Asteros had been a lie. I had not been invisible. I had been a marked woman, walking around with a target on my back, and my only friend had been the one holding the leash. I did not know how long I sat there. An hour? 3? The sun moved across the sky. I felt hollowed out. There was no one. No one in this entire world I could trust. Sasha wanted me dead. Maria had betrayed me. And Alec. Alec saw me as a possession, a pawn in his war. When he returned that evening, I was waiting for him. I was not pacing. I was not angry. I was cold. I stood in the living room, by the windows. I held the tracker between my thumb and forefinger. He walked in, loosening his tie. He stopped when he saw my face. "What is this?" I asked. My voice was flat, dead. He looked at the small black square. He did not flinch. "A tracker." "Was it you?" I asked. "Were you watching me before the diner? Was this all a game? To see how long it would take for Sasha to show up?" He looked at me, and his eyes were not cold. They were something else. Something dark and almost impressed. "If I wanted to track you, Natalie," he said, his voice low, "you would never have found the device." It was the truth. Arrogant, but the truth. "Then who?" I whispered, the last of my fight crumbling. "Who did this?" "Who gets close to you?" he asked. "Who do you trust?" "No one," I spat. "Anymore. I think it was Maria, the other waitress." Alec nodded, as if this confirmed something he already suspected. The Bratva does not just find people. They plant seeds, they water them, they wait. So, what, she was one of them? All this time? "Or they found her weakness," he said. "Money, a debt, a threat. It does not matter, she is a tool. And she pointed them to you." "And you," I said, my voice rising, the anger coming back, hot and sharp. "You are just a different kind of tool. A bigger one, a hammer." I threw the tracker at him. It bounced harmlessly off his chest. "I cannot stay here. I cannot be your bait. I cannot be your property." I walked to the steel door. My hand was on the heavy deadbolt. I knew it was not locked. He had told me. "I'm leaving," I said, my hand trembling. "Go ahead." I froze. His voice was quiet, calm. I turned to look at him. He was standing by the window, his suit jacket off, his tie undone. He was not moving to stop me. "Walk out," he said, his voice flat. "The door is not locked. My men will not stop you. I will not stop you." He took a step toward me. "But the streets are not kind, and Sasha is not patient. He will find you before you cross the bridge, and what he will do to you. He will not be in a hurry. And this time, you will not call me. You will not have a phone. You will not have a voice." My hand was still on the lock. He was right. God, he was right. I was trapped. Not by the steel door. Not by him. I was trapped by Sasha. I let out a sound, a half sob, half scream of pure, animal frustration. I sagged against the door, my forehead hitting the cold metal. The tears were burning, hot tears of rage. "I hate you," I whispered. "I hate him. I hate this." "Hate me," he said, his voice closer. "But you will stay, because I am the only thing standing between you and him." "You are the same," I screamed, spinning around to face him. I was crying openly now, the ugly, snot-nosed tears of a terrified child. "You are all the same. You monsters. You just take." I hit him, my good hand balled into a fist, striking the solid wall of his chest. It did not even make him flinch. I hit him again. "You take everything." He grabbed my wrists, not gently. His grip was steel, his fingers biting into my skin. He held my fists against his chest. "Am I?" he growled, his face inches from mine. His eyes were not calm anymore. They were black and burning, like coals. "You say you are different," I choked out. "But you are not. You just want to own me. You just want to win." "I do not want to win, Natalie," he hissed. "I will win. There is a difference." His gaze dropped to my mouth. The air in the room crackled. It was not gentle. It was not soft. It was the electricity before a lightning strike. My breath was coming in short, harsh gasps. His grip on my wrists was bruising. I should have been terrified. Sasha had held me like this. But this was not Sasha. Alec was not smiling. He was not cruel. He was desperate. I saw it. Under the rage, under the control, there was a raw, desperate hunger that matched my own. He did not ask. He did not lean in slowly. He claimed. His mouth crashed down on mine. It was not a kiss. It was a collision. It was rough, punishing, and utterly, desperately passionate. It was all the anger, all the fear, all the tension of the last 3 days, exploding in one moment. His lips were hard against mine, demanding, and I met him with the same force. My mouth opened under his, and I was not surrendering. I was fighting back. I was kissing him back with every ounce of rage and terror I had left. This was not about love. It was about survival. His hand released my wrist, burying itself in my hair, gripping the back of my head to hold me steady, tilting my face to deepen the angle. His other arm wrapped around my waist like a steel band, yanking me off my feet, crushing my body against his. I was flush against him from knee to chest. I could feel the hard, thudding beat of his heart. Or maybe it was mine. He tasted of coffee and power. It was suffocating. It was overwhelming. It was the first time I had felt anything other than ice-cold fear in 2 years. I was not cold. I was burning. I was the one who broke it. I tore my mouth away, my body screaming for air I could not find. I was gasping, my lungs burning, my entire body thrumming with an energy so violent I thought I might come apart. My forehead rested against his chest, my hands, no longer trapped, flat against the hard muscle. I shouldn't want this, I whispered. The words were a confession, torn from the deepest part of me. I should not want this. I should not want this monster. His chest rose and fell in deep, ragged breaths. His hand was still tangled in my hair, his other arm still locked around my waist. He did not let me go. "You want it?" he growled, his voice a low vibration that I felt in my bones. "Because you are alive." He was right, and that terrified me more than anything. We stood there for a long time. The tension did not fade. It just changed. It settled. That night, he did not offer to leave. He took the couch. I did not ask him to stay. I went to the bedroom, my lips still tingling, my body still humming, and I closed the door. I fell asleep almost instantly, a deep, exhausted, dreamless sleep. The sound that woke me was not a dream. It was a soft, metallic shit, like a silent staple gun, then another. My eyes snapped open. The room was pitch black. Another sound, a heavy thud, like a body hitting the steel front door. My bedroom door burst open, slamming against the wall. I screamed. A black shape filled the doorway. "Get down, now!" It was Alec. He was not asking. He did not wait for me to obey. He crossed the room in one bound and tackled me, throwing his entire 200-pound body onto mine, driving me from the bed onto the thick carpet. His body was a solid shield over me, his hand clamping over my mouth, stifling my scream. The air exploded. It was not a thud anymore. It was a thwack. And another thwack. The wall of windows, they were not breaking, but they were cracking, spiderwebbing under the force of high-velocity rounds. Shards of safety glass sprayed into the room. I felt a sharp, hot sting on my forearm. I cried out against his hand. "Lucas!" Alec roared, his voice a sound of pure command. The roar was answered by gunfire from the living room, not silenced, loud, deafening. A cannonade that echoed in the glass high-rise. Alec's body was tense over mine, a solid, immovable weight. "They are inside," he hissed in my ear, his breath hot. "Stay quiet." I was not quiet. I was trembling, a violent, full-body shudder. I was back in the Bronx. I was back on the floor, Sasha's foot in my ribs. I was bleeding. My arm was not a bad cut, just a long, shallow graze from a piece of flying glass, but it was blood, bright red in the chaotic, flashing light from the gunfire in the hall. Alex saw it. He looked down at the blood on my arm, then up at my face. He saw my eyes, wide, white, pupils dilated, lost in a terror so complete there was no room for anything else. It was the same look I had in the diner, the look of a hunted animal. His face changed. The focused rage of the fight was replaced by something colder, something ancient. He leaned down, his mouth brushing my ear, his voice a low, lethal whisper. "Tell me his name." I was choking on my own fear. I could not speak. The gunfire was still echoing, a chaotic, terrifying symphony. "His name?" "Natalie," Alec demanded, his voice harder. I finally found my breath. It was not a word. It was a surrender, a white flag, the last piece of my old life, my old secret, given over. "Sasha," I whispered, the name a poisoned puff of air. "Sasha Morinov." The gunfire stopped. The silence that fell was sudden, heavy and terrifying. "Alec?" Lucas's voice, rough and strained, from the living room. "Here," Alec grunted. He did not move from me. "Two down." Lucas called, "Clean." One went out the service stairs, fast. Alec finally moved. He rolled off me, grabbing my good arm, and hauled me to my feet. He did not let go. He dragged me out of the bedroom. The living room was a war zone. The beautiful minimalist furniture was overturned. The white marble floor was slick with... I could not look. Two bodies, dressed in black, were crumpled on the floor. Lucas stood over one, his gun, fitted with a suppressor, still pointed down. One of the men, the one nearest the door, was not still. He was crawling. His leg was a ruin, but he was pulling himself toward the hallway. He looked up. His face was contorted in pain, but I saw his eyes, cold, blue, familiar. "Mikhail," I whispered, my voice numb. Alec looked at me, his gaze sharp. "That is Mikhail," I said, pointing with a shaking hand. "Sasha's cousin, he used to drive for him." Mikhail saw me. His eyes widened, first in recognition, then in a snarl of pure hatred. He spat something at me in Russian, "Bratva shlyuka," "Bratva whore." Lucas did not hesitate. He raised his gun and fired, a single muffled psss. Mikhail went still. My stomach heaved. I would have fallen, but Alec's grip on my arm was the only thing holding me up. He was already pulling me, not looking at the bodies, not looking at the blood. "Lucas," he ordered, his voice all business, "clean this, burn the apartment, we are gone." He was wrapping his own suit jacket around my bleeding arm, a makeshift tourniquet. He was not looking at me. He was looking at the ruined door. His jaw set so tight the muscle was a knot. "They breached the safe house," he muttered, more to himself than to me. "They knew. They knew." He shoved me into the hallway and hit the elevator button, his thumb jabbing it over and over. "Alec," I stammered, my teeth chattering. They... He finally looked at me. His dark eyes were not human. They were the eyes of a wolf. "He's not just testing me anymore," Alec said, his voice a low, lethal promise, the sound of gravel grinding into glass. "He is hunting." The elevator doors opened. He pushed me inside. "Now," he said, "I finished this." The place he took me after the safe house was not an apartment. It was a fortress. A sprawling, stone and glass mansion hidden in the hills north of the city, surrounded by a 10-foot wall and iron gates. It was Alec's home. The glass vault had been a holding cell. This was the den. We had arrived in the dead of night, the black sedan gliding through the silent, tree-lined roads. I had not spoken. I was still clutching his suit jacket around my bleeding arm, the fabric soaked. My mind was a loop of gunfire, shattering glass, and Mikhail's face, contorted in hatred, Bratva whore. Alec had half dragged me inside, into a bathroom larger than my entire old apartment, and stitched the gash on my forearm himself. He did it with the same brutal, detached efficiency he had shown in the safe house. His hands were steady, his movements precise. He did not talk. He just worked, his jaw set, his dark eyes fixed on the needle. I had not flinched. I was too numb. Now, I was a prisoner again, but this time, in a cage of obscene luxury. He had given me a room, a guest room, he called it. It was beautiful, with a fireplace, a balcony overlooking the woods, and a bed that felt like sinking into a cloud. I hated it. I hated the silence. I hated the guards. Lucas was always there, a shadow in the halls, his scarred face a constant reminder. Dimitri, the young ox, was posted at the gate, checking every car, every delivery. They were on me 24 hours a day. I could not walk to the kitchen without one of them materializing. I could not sit by the pool without a guard, dressed in a black suit, standing 30 feet away, watching. Alec was gone. He had left the morning after we arrived, his face a mask of cold fury. "Business," he had said. I knew what that meant. It meant the meeting with Volkov. It meant war. And it meant I was left here, in this beautiful, silent prison to wait. I had nothing to do but think, and when I thought, my mind went to places I could not afford to go. The silence of the house was worse than the gunfire. It gave the memories room to breathe, to expand. They filled the empty spaces. I found myself standing in the vast marble shower, the water scalding hot, trying to scrub away a feeling that had nothing to do with dirt. I was thinking about Sasha, about the last time I had felt trapped. It was 2 months before I ran. My period was late, just a day, then 2, then a week. I bought a test at a bodega 3 blocks from our building, paying in cash, my heart a cold stone in my chest. I took it in the guest bathroom, the one I used when he had friends over. I sat on the cold tile floor, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the plastic stick. Positive. The word was not a joy, it was a death sentence. I did not cry, I just went empty, a baby, a child bound to him, an anchor dragging me to the bottom of his ocean. I waited for him to come home. I did not know what to do. I did not know what I could do. He found me on the floor, still holding the test. He looked at it, his beautiful face unreadable. He was not angry. He was not happy. He was annoyed. It was an inconvenience, a scheduling conflict. "Get dressed," he said, tossing the test into the wastebasket. "We are going out." "Out? Sasha, we have to talk about—" "There is nothing to talk about, Dusha," he said, his voice still soft. He pulled me to my feet. "It is a problem. We will fix it. Now, put on the blue dress, the one I like." He did not take me to a doctor. He took me to a clinic, a quiet, sterile office in a basement in Brighton Beach. The sign was in Russian. The nurse did not smile. She took my arm, and I tried to pull back. "Sasha, no," I whispered, the panic finally breaking through the numbness. "Please, I do not want—" His hand clamped down on my shoulder. His fingers dug in, a sharp, painful warning. "It is this," he whispered in my ear, his breath cold, "or I do it myself. And you will not like that. Do you understand me?" I looked into his blue eyes. The angel was gone. There was nothing there, just ice. I nodded. I did not remember the procedure. I remembered the cold table, the bright light overhead, the sharp, pinching pain, and then the emptiness, a hollow, aching void deep inside me that had nothing to do with the physical. He took me home. He bought me flowers. He made me soup. He was so sorry I had been through that. That was the day I knew I had to run. I was not just his property. I was a vessel, a thing he could fill and empty at will. I was not a person. I was a container. And now, locked in Alec's fortress, I felt it again. The restless energy started on the 3rd day. It was an itch under my skin. I could not sit still. I paced the room. I paced the halls. Lucas watched me, his eyes filled with suspicion. Alec was my protector, but Alec was also my new keeper. He had decided I was his. He had kissed me. He had fought for me, and he had locked me away. I was climbing the walls, the silence, the control, the feeling of being handled. It was all too familiar. I needed to breathe. I needed one thing that was mine. I thought of my old apartment, the wrecked, ruined shell of my old life. I thought of the one thing I had not grabbed, the one thing I had left, because it was too precious to risk. Under the floorboards in my bedroom, there was a loose plank, and under that plank, another, smaller one, a decoy. I had shown Alec's men the first one. With my emergency cash, I had not shown them the second. Inside, in a small tin box, was a picture of my mother. She was young, younger than I was now. She was standing on a beach, her hair wild, laughing at the camera. She had died when I was 16. It was the only picture I had. It was the only proof I had of a life before Sasha, a life where I was not Natalie Vassos, the ghost, or Sasha's Shlyuka, a life where I was just Natalie. I had to get it. No, it was more than a picture. It was my anchor. It was the only part of me that had not been touched, tainted, or owned. I started watching the guards. Lucas was smart, meticulous. He never left the house. But Dimitri, at the front gate, was young. He was bored. He spent half his time staring at his phone, scrolling, a small smile on his face. The grounds were huge. The wall was stone, but on the north side, by the kitchens, there was a service gate, a heavy wooden door. It was always locked, but the delivery trucks used it. I waited 2 more days. I waited for a grocery delivery. I watched from the kitchen window. The truck arrived. Dimitri buzzed the driver in at the main gate. Another guard, one I did not know, met the truck, unlocked the service gate, and supervised the delivery. He did not relock it right away. He signed the invoice. He talked to the driver for almost 3 minutes. That heavy wooden door was ajar. I could do this. I put on the clothes Alec had provided, black jeans, a dark gray sweater. I pulled my hair back. I put on the running shoes I had found in the closet. My heart was a drum against my ribs, a frantic, desperate beat. I slipped out the kitchen's back door. I kept to the shadow of the house. The guard at the pool was looking the other way. I moved, low and fast, through the manicured hedges. The guard at the service gate was laughing at something the driver said. His back was to me. I did not hesitate. I did not think. I just ran. I slipped through the open gate. I was outside the wall. I was free. The feeling was not triumph. It was pure, adrenalized terror. I ran into the woods, my feet slipping on the pine needles, my lungs burning. I ran for half a mile until I hit the main road. I did not have my phone. Alec had kept the burner, but I had my purse, and in a hidden pocket, the cash I had grabbed from my apartment, $340, my escape fund. I flagged down a landscaping truck, my heart in my throat. I told the driver my car had broken down. I paid him $60 to drop me at the nearest bus stop. From there, it was a bus, then a subway, then another bus. Each step was a paranoid agony. Every man who looked at me was Sasha. Every black car was Alec's. It took me 2 hours to get back to my old neighborhood. It felt like a lifetime ago. The smell of the harbor, the salt, the diesel. It felt like a different world. I did not go to the front door. The fire escape, my old friend. I climbed the rusting metal. My movements automatic. My window was still broken, boarded up with a flimsy piece of plywood. I ripped it away. I slipped inside. The apartment was a graveyard. It was exactly as I had left it, but worse. The silence was heavy, smelling of dust and ruin. The police had been here, their yellow tape in shreds on the floor. I walked to my bedroom, to the spot. My hands were shaking. I used my good hand, the one without the stitches, to pry at the floorboard. It came up. The decoy spot was empty. My heart seized. No. I dug my fingers into the rotten wood underneath. There. The second plank. It was stiff, but it moved. Underneath, the small tin box was waiting. My breath came out in a rush, a sob. I pulled it out. I fumbled with the clasp. I opened it. There she was, my mother, laughing, free. Tears welled in my eyes. I sank back on my heels, clutching the small metal box to my chest. I had done it. I had my soul back. You always were sentimental, Dusha. My blood did not run cold. It evaporated. I did not move. I did not breathe. The world just stopped. Slowly, I lifted my head. He was sitting in the corner. in the one wooden chair that had not been broken. He was in shadow, but I could see the glint of his blonde hair. Sasha. He stepped out of the shadow. He was wearing jeans and a black leather jacket. He looked thin, and his blue eyes, they were not cold. They were burning. They were alive with a kind of manic, furious energy. "Did you miss me, Natalie?" he whispered, his voice a soft, terrible caress. I could not speak. My legs were water. The tin box fell from my numb fingers, clattering on the floor. "I missed you," he said, walking toward me. "Did you think you could hide from me? Did you think your new Greek pig could protect you?" He was in front of me. I was still on the floor, helpless. "He cannot even keep his own house clean," Sasha sneered. "That was my cousin you watched him kill, Mikhail. He had a wife." He knelt, his face inches from mine. He smelled of cigarettes and something sharp, like chemicals. "I knew you would come back," he whispered. "You are just a stupid, predictable girl. You always were, crying over your dead mother." He reached out and stroked my hair. I flinched so violently I hit my head against the wall. His face darkened. "Do not pull away from me." "Leave me alone," I choked out, the words tasting like ash. "Please, Sasha, just let me go. I will not tell anyone. I will disappear." He laughed, a short, ugly sound. "Let you go? Let you go? You are mine, Natalie. You belong to the Bratva. You will always be ours. You just needed a reminder." His hand, the one that had been stroking my hair, balled into a fist. "This," he said, "is for Mikhail." He did not hit me with his fist. He slapped me. A backhand, casual and brutal, that cracked across my jaw and sent my head smashing into the wall again. Stars exploded, the room tilted, my ears ringing. He grabbed my hair, yanking me to my feet. "And this," he hissed, "is for your Greek pig." He raised his hand again. The front door of the apartment did not open. It exploded. It burst off its hinges, slamming into the wall as 3 men in dark suits filled the doorway. Dmitri, and 2 other guards I recognized from the house. They had guns out, heavy, black pistols leveled at us. Sasha did not panic. He was a snake. He wrapped his arm around my throat, yanking me back, using my body as a shield. I felt something cold and hard press against my temple. A gun. "Drop them!" Sasha shouted, his voice no longer a caress. It was the hard bark of an enforcer. "Drop them, or I will paint the walls with her." Dmitri's face was white with rage. "Let her go, Solikov." "You are too late, puppy," Sasha sneered. "She is coming with me." He started to drag me backward toward the fire escape window. I was choking, my feet dragging, clawing at his arm. "Now," Dmitri roared. It was chaos. Dmitri did not shoot. He lunged. Just as Sasha shoved me, hard, I went flying, sprawling across the floor, crashing into Dmitri's legs. Pop, pop, pop. Gunfire. Not from Dmitri, from Sasha. He was firing wildly as he scrambled out the broken window. Dmitri pushed me aside and lunged for the window, firing back out into the night. "He is gone," a guard shouted. "He is on the roof." "Cover the street," Dmitri yelled, his voice shaking with fury. "Get the car!" He turned back to me. I was still on the floor, amid the wreckage, my jaw screaming, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I was shaking, and I was clutching the small, bent photograph of my mother. The ride back was silent. Dmitri sat in the front seat, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I sat in the back, flanked by the 2 other guards. I did not cry. I was beyond tears. I was in a state of cold, vibrating shock. When we pulled through the iron gates, Alec was waiting. He was standing on the stone steps, illuminated by the porch lights. He was not wearing a suit. He was in a black t-shirt and dark pants. He was coiled energy, a panther waiting in the dark. Dmitri got out of the car. "Boss, she—" "Get out of my way, Dmitri." Alec's voice was a low, lethal vibration. He ripped my door open. He did not offer me a hand. He grabbed my arm, my good arm, and hauled me out of the car. His grip was iron. He dragged me up the steps and into the house. He did not stop in the foyer. He dragged me into his study, a dark room lined with books, and threw me. I stumbled, catching myself on the edge of a massive, dark wooden desk. He slammed the door. "You are a fool," he hissed. He was not calm. He was not cold. He was radiating a rage so potent it made the air in the room feel thin. This was not the controlled anger from the apartment. This was a volcano. "You could have been killed," he roared, his voice bouncing off the walls. He was pacing, his hands clenched into fists. "Or taken. Do you have any idea what he would have done to you? Do you?" "Was it worth it?" he shouted, getting in my face. He was so close I could feel the heat coming off him. "Was a picture worth your life?" He grabbed my shoulders, his fingers dug in, bruising. His grip was terrifying. It was Sasha's grip. And I snapped. The numbness shattered, and all the fear, all the rage, all the helplessness of the last 2 years came screaming to the surface. "Get your hands off me!" I shrieked, my voice raw. I shoved him, hard. "Get off me!" He stumbled back, his eyes wide, shocked by my fury. "I'm tired of being handled!" I screamed, tears of pure, unadulterated rage streaming down my face. "I'm tired of being your prisoner. I'm tired of being his prisoner. I am tired of being locked in cages, whether they are marble or stone or covered in my own garbage. I am sick of being handled." I was sobbing, hitting his chest, my fists striking the solid muscle. A pathetic, desperate rhythm. That picture, I choked out, was the one thing he had not touched, the one thing that was mine. And you just want to own me, just like he does. "You think this is what I want?" he roared back, grabbing my face, his hands hard on my jaw, forcing me to look at him. His eyes were black, wild. "I do not know what you want," I cried, my hands on his wrists, trying to tear his grip away. "I want you safe," he bellowed, his face inches from mine. "I want to be free." The words hung in the air, a raw, open wound. The space between us was no longer just anger. It was the crackling, suffocating tension from the safe house, magnified 1,000 times. It was adrenaline. It was terror. It was the desperate, clawing need to feel alive after staring death in the face. I was shaking. He was shaking. His eyes dropped to my mouth. "God help me," he whispered. His mouth crashed down on mine. It was not a kiss. It was an explosion. It was every ounce of his fury and my terror colliding. It was desperate, punishing, and total. His hands left my jaw, one burying itself in my hair, gripping the back of my head, and the other clamping around my waist, lifting me, slamming me back against the heavy desk. I cried out against his mouth, the impact jarring my teeth. He did not stop. He kissed me like he was drowning, like I was his last breath of air. And I kissed him back. I was not surrendering. I was fighting. I was clawing my way back to life, my hands wrapped around his neck, my fingers digging into his skin, pulling him closer. I met his desperate, angry kiss with my own. It was a war. It was all tears and gasps and heat. He tore his mouth from mine, his lips finding the line of my jaw, my throat. I arched into him, my head thrown back, a sob catching in my throat. He was not gentle. This was not romance. This was raw, unfiltered, animal need. My shirt, the buttons were in the way. I heard one pop, skittering across the desk. His hand was on my skin, hot and rough, his thumb brushing the underside of my breast. I gasped, a jolt of pure, electric shock. He tore his own shirt off, the sound of the fabric ripping loud in the silent room. He was all hard muscle and hot skin. He pulled me from the desk, his hands under my thighs, lifting me as if I weighed nothing. He carried me, his mouth never leaving mine. Stumbling through the dark house, we hit the wall, his body crushing mine. I was crying. He was breathing my name like a curse, and we were both falling apart. He found the bedroom, my bedroom. He did not let me go. He fell with me, onto the soft, waiting bed, a tangle of limbs and gasps and desperate, searching hands. It was not about love. It was not about tenderness. It was about two people who lived in a world of violence, finding the only anchor they could in the storm. It was about feeling anything other than fear. It was about being, for one violent, desperate moment, totally and completely alive. Later, much later, the adrenaline was gone. The fury was spent. We were lying in the dark, not touching, the sheets a tangled mess around us. I was staring at the ceiling. My jaw ached, my body ached, but I was not cold. He was on his back, his arm thrown over his eyes. The silence was different now. It was not empty. It was full. He spoke first. His voice was a low, rough rasp, full of gravel and exhaustion. "I knew a woman once," he said, his arm still covering his face. "Years ago, before I was before I took over from my father." I did not move, I just listened. Her name was Eleni. She was a teacher. She knew nothing about my world. She just knew me. He paused, his chest rising in a deep, uneven breath. A rival. He wanted to send me a message. He wanted to prove I was weak. He put a bomb in her car. I turned my head on the pillow. I could just see the line of his jaw in the moonlight. "I was arrogant," he whispered, his voice raw. "I thought I could keep her separate, keep her safe. I thought I could protect her. She died because I was not strong enough, because I was stupid enough to love her." He finally moved his arm, turning his head to look at me. His dark eyes were not the eyes of a boss or a killer. They were just the eyes of a man. "I will not let that happen again, Natalie, he said, his voice thick. "I will not lose someone else I cannot protect." Tears pricked my eyes. Not for me, for him, for Eleni. "I used to dream of running," I whispered, my voice horsey from screaming. I turned onto my side, facing him. Every day at the diner, I would stash my tips. I had a plan. I was going to buy a bus ticket, go west. California, Arizona, somewhere with so much sun it would just burn me clean. I was still clutching the photograph. It was bent, crumpled, but my mother was still smiling. "I was so tired of running," I whispered. "So tired, but now I am just tired of being hunted." He looked at me for a long, long time. The moonlight traced the angles of his face. He reached out, his hand, warm and calloused, covered mine. He did not grab, he just held. His thumb stroked the back of my hand. "Then let me be the man who hunts him," he said. We did not sleep. The morning found us tangled together, not in passion, but in a kind of exhausted truce. Lucas found us. He knocked, a sharp, professional rap, and entered before Alec had even answered. He did not blink. He did not react to me, wrapped in a sheet, or Alec, pulling on his pants. He was all business. "We found her," Lucas said, his voice clipped. Alec froze. "Sasha?" "No, the waitress, Maria." My stomach clenched. "Is she—" "She is alive," Lucas said, sparing me a brief, cold glance. "And she is talking. The Bratva had her sister, a debt. They forced her to plant the tracker. She is the one who told them about the safe house." "So she led them to my old apartment, too," I whispered. "No," Lucas said. "That was just Sasha. He knew you. He knew you would go back for that picture. He was waiting. He disobeyed Volkov's orders. He was supposed to grab you clean." "He is desperate," Alex said, buttoning his shirt. "He is stupid," Lucas corrected. "And Maria just told us why. Volkov is cutting him loose. He failed. He lost his cousin. He brought a war to their door. He has one last chance to get you, to fix his mess." Alec looked at him. "How?" "He's doing exactly what they did to her," Lucas said, nodding at Maria. "He's taking bait. He plans to traffic another girl, to draw you out. Natalie, he sent a message to Maria's sister. Tell Natalie her replacement is on the docks tonight, warehouse 4. My blood went cold. Replacement? Who? Who is he taking? Lucas looked down at his tablet. A girl from the diner. The young one, Jenna. Jenna? Oh, God, Jenna, who was barely 20, who was saving up for community college, who was sweet and naive and had no idea what world she was about to be dragged into. Sasha was not just trying to hurt me, he was trying to replace me. He was going to traffic her. I looked at Alec. His face was granite. The man who had confessed in the dark was gone. The boss was back. The predator. He turned to his consigliere. His voice was pure, cold steel. "Get every man we have," Alec Chorus ordered. "Every single one. We are going to that warehouse." He looked at Lucas, his eyes black. "We raid it, and I want him." The docks at night were a different kind of monster, a graveyard of rusting steel and shadows. The air was cold, thick with the smell of salt, diesel, and the deep, unsettling rot of the harbor. Alec was not wearing a suit. He was dressed in black cargo pants and a heavy, dark sweater, with a tactical vest strapped over it. He was not a boss tonight, he was a soldier. He was the man who had come for me in the dark. A dozen of his men, including Lucas, fanned out around us, all dressed in the same dark, functional gear. They moved with a silent, terrifying professionalism. They were not thugs. They were an army. "You will stay in the car," Alec ordered. He was not looking at me. He was staring at the black, hulking shape of Warehouse 4, 200 yards away. "Dimitri will be with you. The SUV is armored. You will not open the doors. You will not get out, no matter what you hear. Do you understand me?" "Alec," I began, my hand clutching the cheap, thin scarf I had wrapped around my neck. He finally looked at me. His face was granite in the pale moonlight. "Do you understand me, Natalie?" "Yes." My voice was a whisper. He nodded a sharp, curt motion. "Dimitri." The young Oxman nodded, his face pale but set. He opened the back door of the heavy black SUV, and I slid in. The door shut with the heavy, solid thud of a vault. Dimitri got into the driver's seat. Alec did not look back. He gave a sharp, downward chop of his hand, and he and his men dissolved into the shadows, moving toward the warehouse like ghosts. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard. I sat in the dark, armored shell of the car, my heart a trapped bird, beating itself against my ribs. Dimitri was a statue in the front seat, his eyes on the side mirror, his hands gripping the steering wheel. I watched the clock on the dashboard. 1 minute. My breathing was shallow. I could feel the cold vinyl of the seat through my jeans. 3 minutes. Alec was in there. With the man who had haunted my nightmares for 2 years, with the man who had my face on a wall, a target. 5 minutes. Nothing. Just the lapping of the harbor water and the distant groan of a ship. "Why is it quiet?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Patience," Dimitri grunted. "They are negotiating." "Alec doesn't negotiate." Before he could answer, the night exploded. It was not one shot. It was a war. The muffled, percussive thump-thump-thump of automatic weapons, answered by the sharp, sporadic crack of handguns. It was a rolling, terrifying thunder, echoing off the metal containers. "Oh, God," I whispered, my hand flying to my mouth. Dimitri was muttering in Greek, his knuckles white. I could not breathe. I could not think. All I could see was Alec's face, the way he had looked at me in the dark, the story of Eleni, the woman he could not protect. I will not lose someone else. The gunfire was a chaotic, unending storm. I could not tell who was winning. I could not tell anything. I was blind, trapped in this steel box, listening to the world end. Then, a new sound, a single shot, different from the others, louder, closer. It was followed by a cry, a man's cry of pain. It sounded like Alec. I did not think. The time for thinking, for being handled, for being the girl who waited, was over. "He is hurt," I said, my voice numb. "Natalie, do not," Dimitri warned, his eyes snapping to me in the rearview mirror. "The boss gave orders. You stay in the—" I was already yanking the heavy door handle. I did not care about orders. I did not care about the bratva. I did not care about the war. I tumbled out of the car, my feet hitting the asphalt. "Natalie!" Dimitri roared. I ran. I ran toward the gunfire. I ran toward the dark, gaping mouth of Warehouse 4. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, a sharp, acrid copper tang. The massive, corrugated metal door was slid open just enough for a man to slip through. I did not slow down. I slipped inside. It was chaos, a vast, cavernous space filled with shadows and the flashing, strobing light of gunfire. Men were yelling, Greek and Russian, the words lost in the deafening echo. I saw a man fall, one of Alex. I saw one of the Bratva men crumple from a catwalk above. I pressed myself against a stack of wooden crates, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst. "Alec!" I screamed, my voice lost in the noise. "Get down!" The voice was close. It was pained. I scrambled around the crates. He was there. He was on one knee, his back against a massive, rust-covered shipping container. His face was pale, glistening with sweat. His pistol was on the ground, just out of his reach. His left shoulder was a ruin. His black vest was soaked, and a dark, pulsing river of blood was running down his arm. "Alec!" The word was a sob. He looked up, his eyes hazy with pain, but they sharpened when he saw me. "You stubborn fool," he gasped. "I told you. Stay in the car." "You're hurt," I said, my voice shaking. The panic was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp efficiency. This, I knew. Blood, pain. I had lived with it. I dropped to my knees beside him. "Let me see." I ripped the scarf from my neck. He hissed in pain as I pushed my hand under his vest, finding the wound. It was wet and hot, a hole. "Pressure," I said, my voice firm. "You have to hold pressure." I balled up the scarf, my thin, cheap scarf, and jammed it against the wound. He roared, a low, animal sound, his whole body tensing. "I know," I whispered, my hand on top of his, pressing down, our fingers slick with his blood. "I know it hurts. Just hold it. Hold it. You are okay. You are okay." "Natalie." His voice. My blood did not just run cold. It stopped. It turned to a solid block of ice. I looked up slowly. He was standing not 20 feet away, in a clear patch of moonlight from a high, dirty window. He was untouched. He was wearing a dark, expensive-looking coat, and he was smiling, that beautiful, angelic smile. "Sasha." And he was not alone. He had one arm wrapped around a girl's throat, his other hand pressing a silver pistol to her temple. It was Jenna. Her eyes were wide and white with terror, tears streaming down her gagged face. "Well, well," Sasha said, his voice a soft, conversational caress. "Isn't this sweet, the little ghost, playing nurse?" Alec tried to move. He tried to reach for his gun, but his arm was useless. He just growled, a sound of pure, impotent fury. Sasha laughed. "He cannot help you. Dusha, he is bleeding out, just like my cousin." He took a step closer, dragging Jenna with him. "Look at you. Natalie, you found a new protector. A Greek pig, but it does not matter. You will always, always be a Bratva girl. You will always be my whore." The words, they were meant to break me, to remind me of what I was. But I was not that girl, not anymore. I let go of Alec's hand. "Natalie, no," Alec gasped, his good hand trying to grab me. I stood up, slowly. My hands were covered in Alec's blood. "Let her go, Sasha," I said. My voice was not shaking. It was cold, dead. "Let her go?" he asked, tilting his head, his blonde hair falling over one eye. "She's my replacement, Natalie, my gift to Volkov. He's so angry with me. He said I had to fix my mess." He sneered. "And you are the mess." I took a step toward him, away from Alec, out into the open. "No," I said. "I am the one you want. You always were. Let her go." I stood directly between him and Alec, Alec who was bleeding, Alec who was vulnerable. "Natalie, get down!" Alec roared in trying to push himself up. I raised my hands, the universal sign of surrender. "Here I am, Sasha. You want me. You win. Just let her go." Sasha's blue eyes narrowed. He looked at me, my hands raised. He looked at Alec, helpless on the ground. He looked at Jenna. weeping against his chest. A new kind of smile touched his lips, a cold, serpentine smile of pure victory. "You are right, Dusha," he whispered. "I do want you. I want you to watch this." His gun did not move from Jenna's temple. It shifted, down, not to me, to Alec. He was going to kill him. He was going to kill Alec, right in front of me. And then he was going to take me. It happened in a single, shattered second. He fired, but Jenna, in a final, desperate surge of panic, shoved. She threw her small body back, twisting, just as his finger pulled the trigger. The bullet went wide of Alec. It struck Jenna. She did not scream. She made a small, surprised "oh" sound. Her body went limp. Sasha stared, his face a mask of pure shock. He had made a mistake. He had ruined his only leverage. From the catwalk above us, a shadow moved. Lucas. Pop, pop. 2 sharp, clean shots, almost silent in the sudden, ringing quiet. Sasha stumbled. He let go of Jenna, who crumpled to the concrete floor like a dropped doll. He looked down at his chest. 2 small, dark holes had appeared, side by side, over his heart. He looked up at me. The hatred was gone. The anger was gone. He just looked confused. He took one staggering step toward me. Lucas was already leaping from the catwalk, landing in a crouch, his gun still raised. Sasha did not even see him. His blue eyes were locked on mine. He reached out, his fingers brushing my arm. His grip was weak, his hand already cold. He gasped, a small, bloody bubble forming on his lips. I was the only one who really knew you. And then his eyes went vacant. He slid down my body, collapsing in a heap at my feet. The silence that fell was absolute. It was a suffocating blanket of death and spent cordite. I stared at Sasha's empty face. I stared at Jenna, unmoving on the cold floor. Then I heard it, a low, pained groan. Alec. I spun, scrambling back to him. He was slumped against the container, his eyes closed, his face ashen. "Alec!" I screamed, grabbing his face. "Alec, stay with me! Stay with me!" He was unconscious. I was alone, in a warehouse of bodies, with the only man The thought was too big. The hospital was a different kind of white, not the sterile, cold marble of Alec's vault. This was a clean, antiseptic white. The quiet beeps of the heart monitor were the only sound, a steady, rhythmic promise. He was alive. He was asleep. The surgeon had removed the bullet. He had lost a lot of blood, but he was strong. His shoulder and chest were a landscape of white bandages. An IV line ran into his good arm. I had not left. I was still in my clothes from the warehouse, stiff with his blood and mine. I had refused to leave the chair by his bed. I was holding his hand, his large, calloused hand, which had been so strong, so brutal, was limp in mine. I just held it, tracing the lines on his palm, proving to myself he was still here. "You should sleep." I looked up. Lucas was standing in the doorway. He was clean, back in an expensive suit. The night's work was done. I whispered, my voice hoarse. "It is clean," he said, walking into the room. "The warehouse is empty. The bodies are gone. Jenna's family has been compensated. A tragic, random act of violence. The police are satisfied." I winced. It was so cold, so clean. Lucas looked at Alec, his expression softening for the first time. "You saved his life. You put pressure on the wound. The doctor said another 2 minutes. He would have bled out." He looked at me, a new, grudging respect in his scarred face. "But this is not over." "Sasha is dead," I whispered. "Sasha was a dog," Lucas said, his voice hard. "Volkov and the Bratva are the masters. We struck their man on their turf. They will not let this stand. This is a declaration of war." "Then it is war." The voice was not Lucas's. It was Alec's. His eyes were open. They were hazy, unfocused with pain and medication, but they were open, and they were fixed on me. "Alec," I breathed, my hand tightening on his. Lucas moved to the bed. Alec, we need to plan. We need to retaliate. We need to strike them before they strike us. Do it, Alec rasped, his eyes never leaving mine. Full retaliation. Burn them out. End this. No. The word was out of me before I could stop it. Both men looked at me. No, I said again, stronger, standing up. Please, Alec, no more war. No more killing. It is over. Sasha is gone. Just let it be over. Alec looked at me, and his expression was not angry. It was infinitely sad. He reached out, his good hand, and weakly touched my cheek. Natalie, he whispered, his voice thick with pain. This is my world. This is what I do. He saw the tears welling in my eyes. He saw me start to break. But I will make it safe for you, he vowed, his thumb brushing away a tear. I promise. I will make it safe for you to stay. Lucas, he grunted, wincing. Leave us. Lucas hesitated, then nodded. He left the room, pulling the door almost closed. We were alone. The only sound was the steady, gentle beep of the monitor. The long night passed. I sat with him. I wiped his forehead with a cool, damp cloth when the pain medication made him sweat. I gave him small chips of ice. I did not talk. I just stayed. In the gray, pre-dawn light, his eyes opened again. The haze was gone. He was clear. He looked at me, at the dirt, at the dried blood on my face and clothes. He looked at my hand, still clutching his. He lifted his good hand, his fingers tracing the bruise on my jaw where Sasha had struck me. He hurt you, he whispered. I am okay, I whispered back. Jenna. I had to ask, did she? Alec's face tightened, a shadow of pain passing over him that had nothing to do with his shoulder. She did not make it. Natalie, Lucas. He made sure her family, but she did not make it. The tears I had held back finally came, not for Sasha, not for myself, for Jenna, for the sweet, young girl who was saving up for community college, for the girl who had been my replacement. I put my head down on the bed, next to his arm, and I cried, quiet, choking, hopeless sobs. I did not feel him move, but suddenly his good arm was around me, his fingers tangling in my hair, pulling me closer. I leaned my head on his good shoulder, my tears soaking the thin hospital gown. He just held me. After a long time, my sobs quieted. I pulled back, my face a mess. He did not let me go far. He kissed me. It was not the bruising, desperate, angry kiss from his study. It was not the possessive, claiming kiss from the safe house. It was slow, it was careful. His lips, dry and warm, brushed my forehead, a soft, lingering press. They moved to my temple, to the high ridge of my cheekbone. It was tracing my face, learning me in the quiet light. Finally, his mouth touched mine. It was a kiss of pure, unadulterated care. There was no war in this kiss. There was no anger. There was no mafia. It was just him, just Alec. He pulled back, his dark eyes searching mine. I had to say it. I had run from monsters all my life. I had been owned. I had been terrified. But this was the only truth I had left. Alec, I whispered, my voice trembling. The words were so heavy, so new. I love you. I said it. I had never said it to anyone and meant it. He did not say it back. He did not smile. He did not flinch. He just looked at me. He saw the truth in my eyes. He saw the terror, the surrender, the hope. He saw all of it. He closed his eyes for just a second, a flicker of some deep, internal pain, Eleni, the woman he could not protect. He opened them. His gaze was steady, and it held me. He lifted his hand, his thumb brushing my bottom lip. Then stay, he whispered. It was not an order. It was not a plea. It was everything. It was an answer. Alec did not stay in the hospital for long, against medical advice. He checked himself out 2 days after the surgery. The bullet was out, His shoulder was stitched, but he was far from healed. He was a lion in a cage, restless, fueled by a cold, quiet rage that was more terrifying than any shouting. The war had gone quiet. A terrible, heavy silence had fallen over the city. Lucas had been right. The Bratva was not a wounded animal. It was a coiled snake waiting. Alec had kept his promise. He was making it safe for me to stay, but his version of safe and my version were two different worlds. His world was this: the fortress on the hill, now with twice the guards, Dmitri at the gate, checking every car, his face hard and unforgiving, Lucas a constant shadow, his phone permanently attached to his ear, his voice a low, guttural string of Greek orders. And Alec, he was in his study, day and night. He was not healing, he was planning. He was a general moving pieces on a map I could not see. I was his queen, caged and protected, but caged all the same. He was different. Since the hospital, the passion, the raw, angry need from his study had been banked. It was still there, a simmering heat under the surface, but it was overshadowed by a gentleness that was almost more unsettling. He would touch my face, his thumb tracing the fading bruise from Sasha's hand, his eyes dark with a pain I recognized. It was the look of a man who had almost lost something, the look of a man remembering Eleni. He would kiss me, slow and deep, a kiss that tasted of possession, yes, but also of a terrible aching fear. He did not say he loved me, he just held me. At night, he would pull me against his chest, his good arm locking around my waist, his face buried in my hair, and I could feel the tension in him, even in his sleep. He was a man holding onto a lifeline in the middle of a hurricane. And I loved him. I loved this broken, dangerous, brutal man, but I was not a ghost anymore, and I was not a prisoner. I had said, then stay, but I was suffocating. The war was coming. I could feel it, and I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that this would never end. If Alec won, there would be another Volkov, another Sasha. If he lost, I was dead. This world did not have an after. It was just a during. I had not run from Sasha just to find a stronger, safer monster. I had run to be free. The call came on a Tuesday, a week after the warehouse. Lucas brought the phone to Alec in the study, his face grim. "Volkov," he said. I was standing by the window, my stitched forearm a tight, red line. I did not move. Alec took the phone. "Chorus." I could not hear the other side. I just watched Alec's face. It was stone. "Fine," he said, after a long, terrible silence. "The old dockyard, Pier 12, midnight." He listened. "No, just me. You want to settle this. You look me in the eye, man to man. You bring your army. I will bring mine. You come alone. I will come alone." He hung up. "Alec," Lucas said, his voice sharp, "you cannot be serious. He will not come alone. This is a trap. He will have snipers." "He will come," Alec said, his voice flat. He was already walking to his bedroom. "He is an old man. He believes in the old ways. He wants to see the man who killed his best enforcer and his heir. He wants to look in my eyes." "It is suicide," Lucas argued, following him. "Let me take a team. We can secure the perimeter. He will never know." "He will know," Alec said. "He will smell it, and he will not show." He stopped and looked at his cousin. "This is my war. Lucas, I started it. I will finish it." I followed them, my heart a cold, hard knot. "You cannot go," I said, my voice shaking. "He is right. It is a trap. They will kill you." Alec looked at me, that same gentle, terrified look. It is the only way this ends. I show him I am not afraid. I show him I am the one in power. I pay my respects for his men. He pays his for mine. We draw a new line in the sand. It is business. "It is not business," I cried, grabbing his good arm. "He's a trafficker. He's an animal. He is the man who let Sasha—" I choked on the word. You cannot make a deal with him." He put his hand on mine, his fingers warm. "This is my world. Natalie, this is how it is done. Stay here. Dmitri will lock the gates behind me. You will be safe." He was going to go. He was going to walk into a dark, empty dockyard with a wounded shoulder to meet the head of the Bratva, alone. I had a choice. I could be the woman who waited, the woman who prayed, the woman he had to protect, like Eleni. Or I could be the woman who finished this. That night, the house was a tomb. Lucas was pacing the foyer, his face a mask of controlled fury, his phone to his ear, his men on standby all over the city. Dmitri had locked the gates. At 11:30, Alec came downstairs. He was wearing a dark, heavy wool coat. His left arm was in a black sling, hidden under the coat. I knew he had a pistol tucked at the small of his back. I could see the rigid line of the Kevlar vest under his shirt. He came to me. He did not kiss me. He just rested his forehead against mine. "I will be back," he whispered. "You had better be," I whispered back, my voice thick. He left. The heavy front door clicked shut. I waited 1, 2, 3. Then I moved. Lucas was in the foyer, his back to me. I want eyes on every street. He was hissing into the phone. Every car. I want to know if a rat sneezes within 5 blocks of that pier. I went to Alec's study. I was not stupid. I had been watching him. I had been his prisoner for a week, and I had learned. In his desk, in the bottom drawer, under a false panel, was his private safe. The combination was Eleni's birthday. I had heard him mutter it once, in his sleep. 10/16/78. My fingers were trembling. 10/16/78. The safe clicked open. Inside, there was a small, black pistol and a digital recorder, the kind journalists used, small, flat, with a pinhole microphone. My hand closed around it. I did not go out the front. I went out the back, through the service gate, the one I had used before. I knew the code now. Dmitri was at the front gate. The back was clear. I ran. I ran just as I had run from Sasha, my lungs burning, my feet flying over the dark, wooded ground. I ran until I hit the road. I did not have time for a bus. I did not have time for anything. I saw headlights, a car, turning onto the private road, a late-night guest. I stood in the middle of the road, my hand raised. The car, a simple black sedan, screeched to a halt. It was one of Alec's men, a driver. "Miss Vassos," he said, his eyes wide. "What are you doing? Get out of the road!" I yanked his door open. "Get out," I ordered. I cannot. I have orders." I pulled the small, black pistol from my waistband, the one from Alec's safe. I did not know if it was loaded. I did not care. "Get out, now!" He saw my eyes. He saw the gun. He got out. I threw the gun on the passenger seat and jumped behind the wheel. The keys were in the ignition. I slammed the car into gear, the tires screaming on the asphalt, and I flew. I drove like a madwoman. I knew the docks. I had lived there for 2 years. I knew the back roads. I knew the shortcuts. I arrived at Pier 12 at 5 minutes to midnight. It was a graveyard. The pier was a long, dark finger of rotting wood, pointing out into the black water. At the very end, under a single, flickering yellow light, 2 cars were parked, a black Mercedes and Alec's black sedan. I parked my car in the shadows, half a mile back, behind a stack of containers. I killed the lights. My heart was not beating. It was a solid, cold stone. I turned on the recorder. I clipped it to the inside of my bra, the tiny microphone peeking out from the collar of my dark sweater. And I ran. I did not run toward the light. I ran under the pier. The water lapped at the rotting pilings. The air was thick with the smell of dead fish and rust. I moved, crab walking, my back scraping against the massive, slimy beams. I was terrified of rats, of the dark, of the water. But I was more terrified of what was happening up above. I found a spot directly under where the cars were parked. I could hear their voices. Disrespect. A great disrespect. The voice was old, accented, Russian, thick and heavy, Volkov. "You sent a man to hunt a civilian in my territory. Alec's voice, cold and steady. You sent men to my home. The disrespect is yours. Volkov. He was a fool, Volkov spat. Sasha, he was emotional. He lost his cousin. He acted without orders. He was your man, Alec countered, and he was a trafficker. He was running women through my city. There was a pause. I held my breath. The small red light on the recorder was blinking. Please, please. My business is my business, Volkov sneered. I have been moving product through this port since your father was in diapers. Chorus, the girls are nothing. They are cattle. Not in my city, Alec said. And all for what? Volkov laughed, a wet, ugly sound. For a girl, a single-use piece of Bratva property. You start a war. You bleed. For her. You are weak. Your father, he would be ashamed. My father is dead, Alec said, his voice dropping, all the ice turning to steel. And your man is dead, and your product is no longer moving through my port. We are done here. This is the new line. Or, Volkov said, his voice a low, oily promise, you give her to me. You give me the girl. A gesture of goodwill, and I will forget your disrespect. We can go back to business. I squeezed my eyes shut. No, Alec. I heard Alec laugh. It was not a sound of humor. It was a cold, dark, terrifying sound. You think you can ask me for her after you tried to kill her? After you sent your animals into her home? You are a stupid old man, and you are done. You are threatening me? Volkov roared. I am telling you, Alec said. Get off my docks, and if I ever see one of your men in Asteros again, I will burn your entire organization to the ground. I will not stop with the Bronx. I will go all the way back to Moscow. Do you understand me? Silence. I heard a car door slam, an engine start. The Mercedes pulled away, its tires crunching on the gravel. He was alone. Alec was alone. I scrambled out from under the pier, my clothes soaked in salt water and grime, my hair a wild mess. He was standing by his car, his back to me, staring out at the water. Alec! He spun, his hand flying to the gun at his back. He froze when he saw me. His face was not relief. It was not anger. It was a cold, white fury I had never seen before. What? He said, his voice a low, lethal vibration. Are you doing here? I heard, I stammered, holding up the recorder. I got it. Alec, I got all of it. Him admitting to the trafficking, to the hits, I got everything. I ran to him, my heart soaring. We can use this. We can. His hand, his good hand, clamped down on my wrist. His grip was steel. He stared at the small, blinking recorder in my hand. He did not look at me. He looked at the recorder as if it were a snake. Who? He hissed. Did you get this for Natalie? What? For us? For you? To stop them? To... Who? He roared, his fingers digging into my skin. I have a contact, I stammered. A man, an FBI agent. I met him when I first ran. He gave me his card. He specializes in human trafficking. He can use this. Alec's face went blank. It was the most terrifying expression I had ever seen. He let go of my wrist, his hand dropping to his side. He just stared at me. Do you know what you have done? He whispered. I stopped them, I said, my voice small. I stopped the war. You do not have to fight them. You did not stop the war, he said, his voice dead. You just gave them a new target. You gave them me. He looked at me, and his eyes were not the eyes of the man who had held me. They were the eyes of a stranger. The FBI, he said, his voice hollow. You think they will just take Volkov? You think they will just... Stop. A recording like that. It does not just take down the Bratva, Natalie. It takes down the unions, the port, the politicians. He laughed, a dry, broken sound. It takes down me, my entire organization, my life, my father's life. My blood turned to ice. I did not, and "You gave them my life, Natalie," he whispered. "You gave them everything." "I gave them mine, too," I cried, the tears welling, hot and sudden. Do you not see? I gave them my life, too. I cannot live like this, Alec. I cannot live in a world where men like Volkov make deals. I cannot be the woman you hide in a fortress. I would rather we both go down than live like that. I would rather live free than live owned. He just stared at me. The betrayal in his eyes was a physical wound. It was deeper than the bullet. "Alec, please," I begged, clutching his arm. We can run. We can take the money. We can go to California, Arizona. Like I dreamed. We can be free together." He looked at my hand on his arm, slowly, deliberately. He pulled his arm away. "This is my city," he said, his voice flat. "I do not run." He turned and got in his car. He did not look at me. He started the engine. Alec, wait!" He drove away. He left me on the dark pier, alone, clutching the recorder. I handed it over. The next 2 days were a blur. I met the agent, a man named Harris, in a quiet diner. I gave him the recorder. He listened to it, his face grim. He promised me protection. I did not want protection. I went back to the fortress. The car I had stolen was still on the road. I walked the 2 miles back, my heart a stone. Dmitri let me in. He did not look at me. The house was silent. Alec was in his study. He had not slept. He was sitting in his chair, staring at the empty fireplace. "It is done," I whispered from the doorway. He did not move. "They are moving on Volkov tonight," I said, my voice trembling. They are moving on all of it. The agent said, they will probably come for you tomorrow." He still did not move. "Alec," I whispered, my voice breaking. "Say something. Please, yell at me. Hit me. Something." He finally looked up. His eyes were empty. "Go," he said. "Get out of my house." "No, I'm not. I am not leaving you." "I told you," he hissed. "I do not run, but you will. Take the car, take all the cash in the safe. Go to Arizona. Go and be free." "I do not want to be free without you," I screamed, the tears finally coming. "Then you are a fool," he said, "because you just destroyed me." The sound came from outside, a low, whistling sound, followed by an explosion. The house shook. The windows in the study shattered inward, spraying the room with glass. "What?" "Down!" Alec roared. He did not hesitate. He lunged, tackling me, just as he had in the safe house, covering my body with his. Gunfire. Not from one gun, from everywhere. The house was under siege. "They knew," Alec gritted out, his breath hot in my ear as another explosion rocked the foundation. "The feds, they tipped them off, or Volkov he is burning it all down." He pulled me, crawling, out of the study. The foyer was a war zone. Lucas and Dmitri were pinned behind an overturned marble table, exchanging fire with men who were pouring in through the broken front windows. "The tunnel!" Alec roared to Lucas. "Go!" He grabbed my arm, yanking me down a hallway, toward the kitchen. There is a tunnel, in the pantry. It leads to the woods. We were halfway down the hall when a man in black gear burst through a side door. He raised his rifle. Alec shoved me, hard. "Go!" Alec did not have his gun. He lunged at the man, a pure, brutal, shoulder-first tackle. They crashed into the wall. I did not run. I saw the man's pistol. Strapped to his thigh, he was fumbling for it, trying to push Alec's weight off him. I grabbed the heavy, bronze statue from the hallway table. It was a bust of some old Greek god. It weighed 20 pounds. I lifted it, and I brought it down on the man's head, a sickening, wet crack. He went limp. Alec stared at me, his eyes wide, his chest heaving. The wall behind me exploded. It was not a bullet. It was shrapnel, a grenade. I did not feel it. At first, it was just a hot, violent push. It threw me forward into Alec's chest. I am okay, I stammered, my ears ringing. Natalie, he said, his voice strange. He was not looking at my face. He was looking at my arm, my other arm. I looked down. My sweater was dark. It was ripped, from shoulder to elbow, and it was soaked. A long, jagged, bloody gash. I had been grazed. "You are bleeding," he whispered. His voice was not human. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated terror. He thought he was losing me. He thought Eleni was happening all over again. He scooped me up into his arms, his wounded shoulder screaming in protest, but he did not care. He carried me, running, as the house burned down around us. He burst through the pantry, kicked open the hidden door, and plunged us into the darkness of the tunnel. He did not stop running until we were in the woods, 100 yards away, the sound of sirens finally wailing in the distance. He fell to his knees, still holding me, his body shaking. He looked down at my arm, at the blood. He looked at my face. "You are here," he whispered, his forehead pressing against mine. "You are here." He survived. The Bratva was broken. Volkov was arrested, his entire organization shattered by the FBI. Alec was arrested too. But he was smart. He was a Kuris. He had lawyers. He had politicians. He had leverage. The FBI did not just want Volkov, they wanted the infrastructure. Alec Kuris gave it to them. He gave them the port, the unions, the shipping lines. He gave them everything, in exchange for two things: immunity for his men, for Lucas, for Dmitri, and a clean slate for him and for me. He lost his empire. He lost his father's legacy. He had given them his life. I sat in his hospital room, again. This time, it was smoke inhalation, a few broken ribs from the tackle. My arm was stitched, again. He was staring at the white ceiling. The house was gone. The money was gone. The power was gone. It was just us. "Is it," I whispered, my voice hoarse, "is it over?" He looked at me. The emptiness was gone. He just looked tired. "Yes," he said, "it is over." I sat on the edge of his bed. "Alec," I whispered, my heart aching. I destroyed you. Can you ever forgive me?" He looked at me for a long, long time. He saw the woman who had recorded him, the woman who had betrayed him, the woman who had given his life away. And he saw the woman who had brought a statue down on a man's head to save him, the woman who had run into a firefight for him, the woman who had refused to leave him. He reached out, his hand tracing the new, angry red line on my arm. "Only," he whispered, his voice rough, "if you never leave me again." 1 year later. The room is bright, filled with sunlight. The floor is covered in gray mats. A dozen women, in workout clothes, are breathing hard, their faces set in concentration. "Good," I say, my voice loud, confident. "Again, block, step in, strike, me." I walk the line. I tap one woman on the shoulder. "Use your hips, Sarah. The power comes from your whole body, not just your arm." I am teaching a self-defense class in my own school, Vaso Self-Defense, for women, for the Jennas, for the Mariahs, for the Natalie I used to be. The bell on the door jingles. I look over. He's standing in the doorway. He's not wearing a suit. He's in jeans and a simple gray Henley that stretches across his shoulders. He's not a boss. He's not a general. He's just Alec. He has a small, quiet smile on his face. He leans against the back wall, his arms crossed, and just watches me. My heart does a small, stupid flip. It still does, every time. I finish the class. "Great work, everyone. See you on Thursday." The women file out, sweaty and smiling, calling their goodbyes. I am alone with him. He walks toward me, his smile widening. "You are a good teacher," he says, his voice a low, warm rumble. "I had a lot of motivation," I say, grabbing my water bottle. He stops in front of me. He touches my arm, his fingers tracing the scar, the one from the final attack. It is pale, a silvery line on my skin. Does it hurt, he asks. No, I say, not anymore. I look at him. We're not rich. We're not powerful. We have a small apartment on the other side of the city. He consults, security, logistics. It is normal. It is quiet. And I am finally free. He leans in and kisses me. It is not a kiss of war. It is not a kiss of desperation. It is a kiss of peace, slow and deep and sure. He pulls back. Come on, he says. Taki is holding our table at the diner. I smile. I throw my towel over my shoulder. I pick up my bag. He holds the door for me. I walk out into the bright, warm afternoon sun. I look at my hand, the one that was cut, the one that was bandaged. There is a scar there, too. A thin, white line across my palm. I am not a ghost. I am not a victim. I am not owned. I am Natalie Corus, and I am alive. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I truly hope you enjoyed the journey with Natalie and Alec. My name is Mafia Romance Stories, and it is my passion to bring these worlds to life for you. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment in English and tell me where in the world you are listening from. And if you have not already, please subscribe to Mafia Romance Stories so you never miss a new chapter.